Aloha! Welcome to Netra's News. I'm Netra Halperin, and I am really excited about this show tonight. This is going to be all about animals, animal welfare, and we have three experts in the studio today on various fields of animal welfare. And first I want to talk about my sponsor, Three's Bar and Grill. They're over in Kihei, Kalama Villages, and they serve Southwestern, Pacific Rim, Hawaiian food. They have a beautiful cabaret, nightlife, so absolutely go check them out. So, okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about animals. So, first of all, I've got Peter Tierney. He is the Vice President of the SPCA Maui.
Exactly. Thank you for having us.
I'm very excited to hear what you're going to say. Okay, great. And we've got Jennifer Drout. Jennifer is the president of the Feline Foundation.
Thank you.
And we've got Jocelyn Bouchard, the CEO of the Maui Humane Society.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. I'm very happy to have you all here. So I guess I could start with you. So please tell us, what does the SPCA Maui do?
Okay. Thanks for having us. And SPCA Maui is a relatively new animal welfare organization here on Maui. Our mission is to create a No More Homeless Pets Maui. That means a place where every animal has a good, safe home, and to stop the killing of companion animals as a means of population control. Right now we are focused on spay and neuter services here on Maui. We work with our local veterinarians, providing spay and neuter services at accessible and affordable rates. So someone with a dog or a cat can call SPCA, and as quick as the same week go to a private local vet and have their dog spayed or neutered, or their cat spayed or neutered. So that's our primary goal right now. Our long-term goals are, of course, to buy and maintain and operate a mobile spay-neuter bus. So we can go to Hana, we can go to Kahakaloa, we can go to these places where there is a big problem and there just aren't vets. We might even be able to take it to another island at that point. And at long range, a sanctuary for Maui's companion animals that is a no-kill sanctuary where every animal is guaranteed an opportunity to live.
That sounds like a very lofty goal, and I absolutely support everything you're doing and hope you can reach that. And community, you are, I'm sure they are taking donations to further their work.
Anybody who would like some information, I might as well put the plug out here.
Yeah, go for it.
They can visit our website, spcamaui.org. There's information there on our SNAP program, which is our Spay and Neuter Assistance Program. Okay. There's information on how to help us build our bus, information on how some major myths and facts about spay and neuter, and that's one of the big problems we're facing with companion animals. So spcamaui.org, everything you need to know is there, and you can certainly make a donation. We are an all-volunteer nonprofit organization. Okay. We have no paid staff, and all of our contributions from generous listeners and people watching the program go directly to spay and neuter services.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so now Jennifer Drout.
Thank you. The Feline Foundation of Maui is, again, a nonprofit 501c3 all-volunteer organization, and we are dedicated to humanely controlling Maui's stray and feral cat population through a method called trap, neuter, return, where volunteers go out to the areas where there are existing stray cats, and we trap them, bring them in to be sterilized, fixed, and we return them back to where they came from, and then they're watched under the ongoing care of a volunteer caretaker to make sure that they're healthy and safe. And the method here is actually through natural attrition. Over time, the cat numbers stabilize and eventually will decrease. And it's actually been very successful when implemented properly, and far more successful than the alternative method of just trap and remove, because that method, unfortunately, every time you remove one, a new cat from another nearby area will come in and take its place. Right. So this method of neutering and returning them to where they came from stabilizes the colony. They're non-reproducing, they're healthy, they're not sick. They stop a lot of their nuisance behavior once they are sterilized. They're no longer fighting or mating or any of that nuisance behavior, and the colony becomes much more manageable, and we can deal with it much easier. So that's what we do, and we are at www.mauicats.org or mauicats.com, and of course we do all this through spay-neuter. Spay-neuter is the key, and so we could definitely use donations for spay-neuter services, and so that's what we do.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you, wonderful. And Jocelyn Bouchard of the Humane Society.
Yeah, so I wish I could sum ours up so easily, because we have a number of different programs. We are Maui's only open admission shelter, which means we are required to take every animal that comes to us, friendly, tame, or friendly, not friendly, healthy, not healthy, and everything in between. At the rate of, over the past a couple of months, we've had them coming in at the rate of 30 per day, every single day. So it's a tremendous amount, almost 10,000 animals a year. We had last year about 9,400. So we're a shelter, an adoption center. We also work hard on a transfer program, as well as reuniting pets with their owners if they're lost, if the pet is lost, or the owner could be lost as well, you never know. We have a very thriving spay-neuter program. We do thousands of spay-neuters every year. And we actually last year just expanded our surgery center, so we're going to be able to do even more. So we're really excited about that. Of course, we have a law enforcement arm with our field operations department, which goes out and investigates calls from the public about animal-related issues. And we have a very thriving education program as well. So we go into the schools, we do talks for adults, we do day camps when schools are out. So in fall, we've got one coming up for the fall break. We'll be doing a camp for the kids. And you know, they're our pet owners of tomorrow, so we're really focusing in on them as well to make sure that, and I have to tell you, we have some great kids out there. So if the ones that have been coming to our camps are any indication, we're going to be in good hands. So
good.
And so my understanding is you have you're partially funded by the county, or
we do. We have a contract with the county to provide what they call animal management services. So it's that contract that requires us to take every single animal that comes to us.
Right.
It's that contract that funds the entire field operations department.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. So now I would like to encourage conversation. So talk amongst yourselves. Is that what they said? So beforehand, of course, you know, you all were going back and forth. Well, what about this? What about this? So whoever would like to say something, you know, to each other.
Oh. Let me start only by saying we were just, you know, the Feline Foundation, Maui Humane Society, and SPCA Maui just last month partnered together. The Maui Humane Society was nice enough to let us use their conference room as a surgical suite.
Good.
They let us line 173 cats up in back of their kennels. They put up a tent for us so that the cats could be out of the sun. And in 8 hours, partnership between Feline Foundation and SPCA Maui, we were able to spay and neuter 173 of Maui's cats, both owned and community cats or feral cats in one day.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, fabulous.
And going by the numbers, which are exponentially huge, we estimate that we probably reduce the future cat population on Maui by hundreds of thousands.
Right, because you take every cat and you just go like that of all the kittens and the kittens of the kittens.
Exactly. That's
so,
how that works.
And Jennifer and I were just discussing prior to the show is why can't we do this every day?
Funding.
That would solve our feral cat
funding
problem if we could do this every day. So how do we get the funding? That's what we were talking about. Jocelyn?
How do we get the funding? Community? Yes. I mean, if we had that answer, we'd have the funding. So, you know, we do a lot of fundraising at the shelter. We do direct mail asks, we do special events, we have projects like our calendar and so on. So all of those fundings goes to the various programs that we do, and you know, fundraising is the main way. There's also earned income that you can do. A lot of nonprofits now are even having like a for-profit arm to funnel monies in, and that's something that we're looking at. So really, I think the key is diversified funding.
Exactly.
So if we were to totally rely on the county funding, for example, you know, we would be in a bad place.
Exactly.
And you know, we also can't always rely only on our donors. So we're always looking at different ways to bring in the money.
What about Maddie's Fund?
Maddie's Fund is something that we've looked at, but it's a big grant. There's a lot of requirements for it, and we want to make sure that we can fulfill those requirements. So we're actually, it's funny, we were talking about that just today, because it's changed over the years as well.
So for the non-inside crowd, what is Maddie's Fund?
Maddie's Fund is it's a specific fund for spay neuter. There's several actually grants out there for spay neuter that we're looking at, including Maddie's Fund. So, but actually, that's actually oversimplifying. Maddie's Fund is really about funding to set up programs to get those live release figures up and euthanasia numbers down. I mean, that's maybe a better.
To put it simply, Maddie's Fund is a amazing, well-funded nonprofit based on the mainland. Maddie was a dog, and somebody very generously donated millions of dollars to encourage communities to move away from killing as a means of population control in companion animals. And the monies are there. The idea is the main requirement for Maddie's Fund accessibility is all the animal welfare organizations in the community must agree to a no-kill philosophy.
They must
and they must work together in a respectful, cooperative manner. That's another key part of it.
So now we're going to hear what some youth, I think there's like 5 kids in Kihei, what they had to say on this issue. So let's look at the Kihei youth.
Feral cats are basically descendants of domestic cats that have been born and live without any human contact. They sometimes can live in colonies or live alone. They usually don't like to be around humans, and they fight other cats. Some experiences that I have is I have my own cat, and in my backyard there was a gulch where they all would live and go around in their colonies, and they would come up and eat my cat's food, and they would fight at night, and it sounds like babies are crying when they're fighting, and it's very hard to sleep.
Also, people to stop that when they buy cats from the Humane Society, or if they just get them from someplace, they should just automatically get them neutered and spayed so they don't have to worry about that problem. Because I know, when we got my dog at the Humane Society, they forced us to do that because so that they don't have to worry about all the puppies. So I think that's a really good thing to do.
I think we should, because they're starting to kill our birds and our natural birds from Maui and stuff. So I think it's probably a good idea that we're feeding them instead of having them eat our birds and our pets.
They should either put a stop to it, or just people, if they see them, just kind of let them be, because they have their own, life.
And if they put when you say put a stop to it, how could it be a stop be put to cats?
Either not kill them, but just have them have just a home, or something where just the cats can be around, and I don't know, that's a place where they just have food or stuff. Yeah, just so cats.
Well, I think it's okay to adopt them, because if they do adopt them, then it puts a stop to them killing our birds and stuff like that. It gives them so they don't argue, and like she said, it doesn't make any noises at night and stuff like that.
I know one reason why they have to kill them is because when more cats come in, there's no room for them, so the ones that they've had probably for a while that no one really wants, they have to put them down for room for the other ones, just like how they have to do with dogs. So.
And do you think that that's a good way to handle handle the cat overpopulation problem?
Yes and no, but like, I think if they're healthy and they're like brand new, instead of just like killing them, let them at least like, you know, live and maybe like keep them, or like, you know, someone like one of the volunteers that works there, that has a good like relationship should at least take them, or, you know, have them be like a foster home for a little bit, and then maybe let them go. But
They're like really healthy, but they shouldn't put them down.
I disagree with the killing the animals because I think that's wrong. What I think that they should do is, I understand how they have the overcrowding situation, so they should have the new kittens and the new cats that they have come in, and maybe what they should do with the old ones, instead of killing them, which I think is wrong, instead they should maybe put them on sale or make another room in there for them, put them on a lower price, or even when they just get older and people aren't buying them, just even have them for free.
I think, like what she said, like to put an advertisement up, or like make a commercial to do it.
I also agree with the advertising, using the commercials and the flyers and stuff at Petco. Another reason that you could do is just to kind of go around. It'd take work, but it can make a difference, and it can really affect, in my opinion. What you could do is you can go around to different people with cats and who keep on letting them mate and have their kittens. What you can do instead is just kind of explain to them what the issue is and the problem is, and maybe kind of give them some more information and details on what can be done and how it's becoming a problem.
Okay, well, that's what the youth of Kihei, at least some of them, think. Anybody has any comments?
Well, I just think that's what I was saying. I mean, we got some great kids out there, and you know, totally agree with them. I can't dispute any of that. Of course, you know, this is what we hear a lot at the shelter, because we're the ones I'm sure they're referring to when they're talking about running out of room. We do that, unfortunately, on a daily basis. You know, where we could build another room, but soon we'd fill that one up, and then we'd have to build another room. So last year, about 5,600 cats we had come in. So it's a lot of cats, and we need to get that population down.
Exactly.
That's really the key, because you know, we wish there was more people that would be coming to adopt, and we're promoting adoptions everywhere. We're out with our bus. We've got you know, ads that run and have been running for a long time. And actually, we do pretty good adoptions, especially compared to some shelters in the mainland. And we've been increasing those adoption figures every year steadily for the past 3 or 4 years. So, you know, it's that's all of our goals. Yeah.
I think the key is to stop them from coming in the first place.
Yes.
That's
Exactly.
the goal
Yeah.
is to never
Yeah.
have them, you know, that inventory of cats out there
Exactly.
that keep coming in.
Is exactly why we got together at SPCA Maui and decided that right now we need to focus as much energy and money as we can on spaying Maui's dogs and cats.
Right.
All of the funds that we receive go to spaying Maui's dogs and cats through our local vets.
Yeah.
Again, we did 173 in one day, as we were saying before. Why can't we do 173 every day? And
Yeah.
maybe we could if we had the
funding,
funds,
yeah.
if we had the thing, or if we had momentum.
Yeah.
Now back to this Maddie's Fund. So you're saying that all the organizations, so basically you folks, I guess there's Ninth Life, or they're already the no-kill, but would it be possible, if you knew that money was coming, to commit to a no-kill policy? That would be a question.
Well, first of all, no, not immediately, but that's not required.
Oh, it's not
It's
required.
required that you work towards it.
Oh,
They
okay.
know
There.
that you can't
have-
overnight become,
Okay.
you know, and spay-neuter is absolutely the #1 thing to address the overpopulation issue. The problem is it doesn't help the animals that are in the shelter today. It's not going to help the animals coming in the shelter tomorrow. So adoptions are critical. That's the short-term solution, is adoptions, getting them back to their owners if they're lost. Those are the short-term solutions, combined with education for those sorts of things. Long-term, you know, absolutely, the spay-neuter is going to stop them from coming
Right,
in.
exactly. Exactly.
But as long as we have them coming in at the numbers that they're coming in right now, and keep in mind, I heard her say something about little kittens and older cats, and we get the whole gamut, and our kittens do really well. But when we have a lot of kittens in the shelter, people don't look at the adults. So, and when we have a lot of puppies, we have trouble adopting out the adults. So, and I also heard a comment about doing specials, and we've been doing that. We actually did free cat adoptions for a couple of months last year, 3 months, I think. Coming up next month, it's Adopt a Dog Month, so we're going to have dogs 7 years and older are going to be no adoption fee. We're going to waive the adoption fee. We're also, we have a little prize wheel. It's kind of fun. So people can spin the prize wheel. We're calling it Pick Your Pooch and Spin to Win. So they pick, they choose a dog that they want to adopt, and then they can spin that wheel and get anything from, I believe it's 10% to 100% of the adoption fee waived. So, we're really always watching what people are doing on the mainland and other places, and we're not no shame, right? We'll if we see a good idea, we're
but the bottom line is there's just not enough homes for every stray animal that's out there.
And what is the reason for that? I've heard different things, but is there some community-wide reasons why there's not enough homes?
Well, I think that we have 60% of our households have pets. There's about 65,000 pets out there right now in homes. It is not everybody can have a lot of pets. Some people can't have any pets for whatever reason. They don't like them. We don't want pets going to them. They travel a lot, so it's not. So there are some valid reasons for not having pets, and there's certainly valid reasons for only having one dog or a couple of cats and that sort of thing.
We do know there is no valid reason for not spaying and neutering your cat or dog unless you are intending to intelligently breed.
And responsibly breed.
But otherwise, spay and neuter is the way to go, and it has to be the answer. It is the answer.
Right.
It's agreed. I think that everyone would agree. We cannot adopt our way out of this problem.
And especially not with cats. I mean, at one point somebody estimated there was 500,000 cats on this island. I mean, there's not enough homes.
Nobody really knows. Nobody really knows how many there are.
Nobody knows that
on this island.
Nobody knows.
And possibly twice that many.
It could be. It's anybody's guess what's out there. And so that's what. When you look at the numbers, there's just no way possible to get all of those animals. And as far as cats are concerned, the majority of those are stray and not adoptable. They couldn't be placed in a home because they're not really domesticated and tame and sweet.
I've trained a couple.
If you get them young, you can do that. But if they're already 6 months, you're fighting a losing battle.
And keep in mind there are some cats, because I've been really focused in on feral cats over the past couple of months because there's been some issues in a couple of areas. And so went out to a colony, a very large colony of cats, and where there's been a lot of dumping done as well. So
explain to the audience, what is dumping?
So what that is that those are people that can't care for their cat any longer, and rather than bringing it to the shelter or somewhere or finding another home for it, they're abandoning it, which is illegal. And a lot of times they're abandoning them at these colonies because they know somebody's feeding and taking care of the cats. Right. What we found there is that there's a whole, so some of those cats are tame and they're coming up to you, and some of those cats are just really scared and freaked out, and even when we bring them into the shelter it takes a little while, but yes, we can tame them up. And some of them are just feral, and those cats, especially older ones, that is the definition of a feral cat. They don't trust humans, and rightly so, because some of the horrible things that happen to them. I mean, I don't know if folks remember the court case that is still going on, but with the I'll call them kids, but I think they were in their early 20s, late teens, early 20s, who were shooting arrows at the cats in EL Valley. We see that a lot. We see pellet, and we go in to spay feral cats, and we find pellets in them. And so that's something I definitely want to say is I think people feel like, oh, it's Hawaii. There's no winter, so no big deal, right? And besides, cats used to be wild years ago, so they'll be okay. They're not okay. And if they're in a well-managed colony, there's a limit to how many cats, and most colonies are at that limit. So adding another cat in there can really upset things.
A question: if it's we've established it's against the law to abandon your cat, aside from being inhumane and probably immoral. Has the Maui Humane Society or the Animal Control for Maui County ever cited someone for abandoning cats? How many citations were issued last year for?
I don't know, but let's look at that, because how do you prove it? Because we know that there's cats being dumped. Well, sometimes we can find. We'll have somebody that says, "Hey, I saw this person, and I got the license plate number." So that's really rare. We rarely catch people dumping animals. You know, most people are
do it at
pretty
night.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like any,
I mean, I wish we could. Trust me, that's one group I would love to get at. So.
And like any the crime, anything like that, I always look at, okay, did that person have options? You know, are there things they could do? Let's just say they are leaving the island, or they move somewhere cats aren't allowed, and they don't have any friends that have cats. And like, you know, as a community, it's about creating options, and I think that's what we're all talking about here is, but can somebody talk about the health benefits of spaying and neutering an animal? All the reproductive cancers are certainly decreased, if not eliminated, and there's behavioral benefits as well.
Certainly, dog-on-dog aggression, dog-on-people aggression, which we are seeing tremendous growth and increases.
Actually, I have to tell you, we're not.
We're not. We're just
the
hearing
numbers
more
are actually
about them,
down. Yeah, we're hearing more
So
about
what
them.
are
There's
the
been
numbers?
there's been a couple of really high-profile stories out there. I think that's why people are sort of thinking, wow, this is out of control. But in fact, we're seeing. I think we saw half the amount of dog to human. Well, let me back up. We received calls about. Doesn't mean that there's not other bites happening out there, but we can't follow up on them if we don't know about them. So the calls that we've received in the past 2 months, half of what we received last year. So there's not necessarily more, but I think it's definitely something that people are really, you know, aware of right now, because there has been a couple of really horrible and high-profile cases. So.
And there might be, some people might think, oh, you know, I don't want to spay my dog because then he won't be a man, or, you know, I mean, he's not a man anyway, but, you know, he won't be a real male, and, you know, I want my dog to be a real male. What would you say to that person?
I don't know, Peter, you want to tackle that one?
You know, it's funny, and we laugh, but it's not funny.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's not funny, because we are talking about one male cat can father 1,200 kittens in a year.
Yeah.
That's not funny. That's why we have this problem. And so what I would say is the same thing when we talk about humans and a man who's had a vasectomy. And I know a lot of big, strong, powerful men who've opted to go that route so that they know they're not going to be increasing the population. It's the same logical explanation. And again, we need to get out there and we need to spread that message. And a lot of it is about education. A lot of it that we found out, I know right now, SPCA Maui last month did 85 spay and neuters. We're a brand new organization. Every month, the month before we did 40, the month before that we did 20, 85. And what we find, it has to be affordable, and it has to be accessible, and it has to be now. Because once I've convinced Joe Big Guy to get his male pit bull or any other dog's cojones removed or sterilized, we have to do it now.
Before they
change
mind.
We cannot say, call us, your appointment is in 3 months.
Yeah.
Well, we
because
can,
in 3 months,
and we have those people coming in 3 months, so we can. Well, again, there's only so much space to fill, and only so many veterinarians doing it. You know, certainly we can expand that, and that's why we doubled the surgery, because we were at our limit as well, doing, you know, over 3,000 animals a year. We couldn't have done any more without the expansion. But the other thing I want to say about the male dogs is, you know, I want to qualify the behavior changes, which I think I said, but I want to qualify that because I think that's a concern for people. Oh, my dog's not going to be the same. Or like you said, my male dog isn't going to be as manly. They don't change their personalities. They're going to have the same personality, and in fact, sometimes they can be more bonded, more protective of the home because they're not out there. They're not all hormonal out and focusing on, finding the female or the male, depending on, So,
they don't
I want to make sure I qualify that. They shouldn't be traveling anyways because, cats maybe, but not dogs.
Right, and then, that's one good thing about the cats too, is once they're fixed, they don't seem to travel as far at all. They stay much more local.
I mean, we find that, it's because dogs are left off leash. Most dogs on leashes are not victims of accidental litters. It's unleashed roaming males and unleashed unsupervised females that are the problem. And if people kept their dogs at home, fenced or on a leash, we could stop this problem. And again, it has to be a threefold solution.
Right.
We have to spay and neuter. We have to enforce our regulations, and we have to educate. But the first thing is we have to spay and neuter.
That's true.
I just want to
say that this is a call-in show. So if you would like to give your mana'o, ask your question, you are very welcome. Our number is 873-3430. So please call in if you'd like to ask a question of the experts. Go ahead, Jocelyn.
So I just wanted to mention, it's not only unleashed dogs. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are intentionally breeding or accidentally breeding because they've got a male and a female. So I don't want to give the perception that if you keep that's the only thing going on there, because we are seeing and we're hearing from the veterinary community that they're getting more questions about breeding because people think that it's going to be an income stream for them. And then unfortunately, what we see is when they can't find homes for those puppies, we're getting them as sort of gangly 6-month-olds with no training, and they're difficult to adopt.
Yeah.
Okay, excuse me. So we do have a caller.
Okay.
So let's hear what the caller has to say.
Oh, hi. Is that me?
Yes.
Yes, hi.
Oh, hi. This is Kat. And a couple of things. One was to address the dumping situation, and also some of the kids had mentioned finding them homes. I remember from when I worked at the Humane Society, one of the main issues, it seems like people were bringing animals to the Humane Society as owner turn-ins, was because they had to move and they could not find a place to move to that would allow animals, that would allow people to have pets. So if there'd be some way, I don't know how that could really be handled. I know that was also one of the issues, how to really present it to landlords and property owners and management companies to allow responsible people to have pets, people who already have good references, who've had their pets. It's just really, I know it's a big thing, especially if they're spay-neutered. That's even a more of an incentive to go, we promise you won't have any more.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a great point, Kat. Thanks for bringing that up. And one of the problems with that is in Hawaii, landlords can't charge a deposit. They can't charge anything more than, now I'm not going to necessarily have this exact, but they can only charge like the first and last month's rent. So they can't charge, like you'll see on the mainland or other communities.
Somebody's charging me $25 a month.
We'll see now, they're not supposed to be doing that. So,
So that's an area that I think legislation could actually help really make a difference.
What would you suggest the legislation change to?
Well, I mean, you could actually give incentives to landlords to do that. I hate to say that, but I mean, it would cost money. But if you gave an incentive to landlord to allow, especially if it was an altered fixed cat, they get some sort of a credit or something through the county, some sort of recognition. But giving people a benefit for doing the right thing is a very good motivator.
The other thing too, the problem on Maui specifically, is there's a lot of absentee landlords. So a lot of the rentals are being done by rental companies. And I had a friend, for example, that left the island and wanted to rent out. She had like acreage, and she had trouble finding a management company that would allow her to rent to people with pets in her own home.
It's true, and
that's a problem too.
When I've been looking for a rental, a lot of them just blanket every single.
Yeah. Right.
So we have another caller.
Had another caller?
Had? It says Kat Kihei. We just talked to Kat Kihei.
Okay.
Okay, so is there a caller?
hung up. Caller is hung up. I
Okay,
heard.
so let's move ahead. They'll call again if they want.
You know,
Yes.
many mainland communities, it is perfectly allowable to have an additional security deposit for pets. It's called a pet deposit. And it can vary anywhere from one, a portion of 1 month's rent up to, whatever. And it is perfectly legal. I think that we certainly should look into that. I believe that pet deposits are legal in the state of Hawaii. And I believe, so we would want to check on that. And that if you are a responsible pet owner, there should be no reason to say, oh, I happily would put another $250 or you're paying $25 a month extra for
I think this is a topic we've been discussing a lot on the radio too, is this is also a responsibility we have as pet owners. I think people don't realize that when they're irresponsible with their pets, they are affecting a lot more than maybe just what their pet is getting up to. And this is with the feral cat colonies, this problem we've had when colonies aren't managed properly, people are just feeding, they're not even spaying or neutering or whatever else they're doing, then it's not going to work, and it's going to give the whole program a negative perception, and it's going to be a lot harder to find those landlords that are going to rent or get the funding from the county or whatever it's going to be. So, yeah.
And she just brought up a point I wanted to make earlier, that I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about exactly what responsible, at least for what we do, responsible trap, neuter, release, or return programs really are and what isn't. So there's a lot of people you may see out there just feeding cats and not fixing, and they're definitely not part of our organization or what we do. I mean, unfortunately, those people they have a good heart, but they're misguided, and feeding without fixing is just the recipe for population explosion, and that we absolutely do not support in any way, and it goes against everything we try to do. So when you're out there in the community and you see people just feeding and it's getting out of control, just don't think that that's a TNR program, and that's an example of what doesn't work, because that's not what we do. There's also, like you said, if you don't do it responsibly, I mean, our organization is all about going into where there are already existing cats. We're not bringing cats from another location to there. I mean, that's definitely not something that we do either. We just happen, to get a call or a complaint about where there is existing cats that are unspayed and neutered. They're causing a problem. Sometimes in commercial areas where they're, maybe you have a restaurant or a locale where the stray cats are bothering the tourists and getting in the way of business, and it does create a big problem. So we go into where there's an existing problem. We find a location where the cats can be out of sight. We get them fixed. We take out the sick ones. We get, the kittens adopted. We keep them out of sight. We get them spayed, neutered, and all of that nuisance behavior goes away. And if you feed them in a discreet location, then they're not going to come out to the tourists begging for food or trying to get into the garbage cans and all of that stuff. So that's responsible TNR. So that's what we do, as opposed to the other stuff that you see that may not. So you don't necessarily know. When you see something that's going on, don't just jump to the conclusion that, oh, that's a colony management that's gone wrong. So
is that information anywhere? Like, I know there's such a thing as a registered colony. Can somebody actually go look it up on a website?
Absolutely not. And the reason why, is a very good reason, because we brought that up earlier. It's dumping. Unfortunately.
Okay.
I can't even talk about where they are right now. I mean, I could give you examples of some really great ones that have been very successful, but I can't tell you where they are, because as soon as somebody finds out where they are, then people that don't like the Humane Society and don't want to bring them in there, they'll go to where these colonies, they know they exist, and they'll start dumping in our colonies, and that's not what we need to do.
So give us an idea, how many registered feral cat colonies do we have?
Registered. Since its inception to today, we'll have probably over 400, but that doesn't mean that they're still operating and in existence. Some of those colonies have already, run their lifespan and there's no more, they've been moved or whatever, but, since its lifespan, I'd say that's over 400.
A lot of cats.
And that's Feline Foundation of Maui.
That's
That's not Hawaii, that's Maui.
That's just Maui, right.
Now, I had heard if somebody goes out to one of these cat colonies, or if they have a feral cat, they trap it, they bring it to the Humane Society, it's pretty much guaranteed it's going to be killed. Is that true?
Euthanized, yes. We prefer the term euthanized. We have 40 wonderful staff members at our shelter. I don't believe any of them kill animals. Euthanasia means humane death, and those animals are not suffering. and I say that in defense of my staff, because you can only imagine what it's like to have to do that, because we don't hire people that don't like animals. We only hire people that love animals. So it's an incredibly difficult job to do.
I can imagine.
You know, I think that when people want to, you know, hot button it and call it kill and that sort of thing, I just always have to stand up for my staff, because I don't think that's fair. But that being said, yes, absolutely. Most of the feral cats are euthanized that come into the shelter, and that is because
they're unadoptable.
People don't want to adopt them, especially not when there's this cute little fluffy thing that, you know, pawing and come, take me, take me.
Exactly.
You know, they're not going to adopt the feral, and it's also, the ferals are miserable. A true feral cat being in a shelter, that's like a nightmare for them. So they're miserable. They get sick.
They've been adjusted to being in the wild, and they don't know how to deal with being enclosed in a room that's like, you know, too claustrophobic for them once it's been wild.
It brings us back to spay and neuter.
Spay, neuter, spay, neuter,
It is an amazing thing, and I know Jocelyn has seen it and Jennifer has seen it, but to see a huge quantity of cats in traps and they're not making a sound. 170 cats and there's not one meow.
Why is that?
Feral cats don't meow when they're trapped. Feral cats are generally quiet. If you
when you cover them up.
If you trap a cat and it starts screaming, and there's not a peep. It's an amazing thing, and to see these animals that probably sometimes the only time they've ever been touched by a human being is when they're in surgery and in recovery, and it's amazing. But again, 173 in 8 hours, we can solve this problem. We just need to work harder at it, and that's it. We all need to dedicate. Feline Foundation, Maui Humane Society, Ninth Life, Boo Boos, all of us need to get together and dedicate ourselves to the fact that we will stop killing companion animals as a means of overpopulation control, and that we will dedicate more funds to spay and neuter. We need to solve the problem in the beginning. It costs as much to spay and neuter a cat or a dog as it does to keep it in a shelter. So the smart thing to do is to spay and neuter now.
What I would say to that is, I agree with that absolutely. What concerns me about the way that's being phrased is, it makes it seem like the shelters are the one that is causing the problem or perpetuating the problem, or the shelter is the only one that can solve the problem. And that creates complacency in the community, because what a community member is going to say is, see, well, it's not me, it's no big deal that my cat had that litter of kittens. If the Humane Society was doing their job, it wouldn't be a problem. So, you know, it takes all of us. It takes all of the agencies. It takes all of the community members. We can put on all the spay-neuter clinics we want, but if people aren't convinced and they don't come out and spay, then, you know, where are we? So I always want to temper that, and I'm not disagreeing, because I think, you know, that's what I was saying. We're always looking at ways that we can do more spay-neuter, do more, get more animals out into the homes that are in the shelter, etc. But, you know, we can't do that without the support of the community.
I think it just goes back to that statistic in the beginning. I mean, for every one cat that you fix and take out of the breeding reproductive population, you save hundreds, if not thousands, from being born and entering in that. It is the solution to all of it. You have to stop before it gets to that point.
Okay, we have another caller. So, hello, caller.
The mystery.
Oh, it's Lydia from Haiku. Hi, Lydia.
Can't hear Lydia.
Hello?
Oh, there
Hi,
you are.
we can hear you. Yes.
Hi, I'm here. I'm enjoying the program. Peter, I've worked alongside of you doing the spay-neuter at the Maui Humane Society the last couple of times. I commend Peter for all his hard work and dedication, and Jocelyn and Feline Foundation. My question tonight is are you familiar with the Boo Boo Zoo?
We have a Boo Boo Zoo film in. Right after this call ends, we're going to show a film on the Boo Boo Zoo.
Okay. My question is, they're a nonprofit organization, right?
Yes.
Through donations. And I just recently have been informed that there was a raid on the Boo Boo Zoo. Are you familiar?
Yes, and we'll see that as soon as any minute. As soon as we're through, we're going to talk. We're going to show the film on that. So
Great
yes,
timing, Lydia.
Great
perfect.
timing.
You were psychic.
And
You
again,
knew it was coming. So yes.
Thanks again for helping out at the clinics.
I just found this out about 20 minutes into your program, and I've been sitting here very upset because I'm a big donator to the Boo Boo Zoo, my husband and I, and what I understand, it wasn't pretty, and I would like to know a little more about what happened.
Well, why don't we roll that video?
Aloha, this is Netra Halperin with Netra's News, and we are here at the Boo Boo Zoo, also known as the East Maui Animal Refuge, and I have the pleasure of introducing Sylvan Schwab.
Good morning.
And can you tell me, how did this all come about? Why is the Boo Boo Zoo here?
The Boo Boo Zoo originally happened as occupational therapy for my wife Susie. That was 30 some odd years ago, and it evolved from there after she recovered from cancer. We still had the desire to take care of orphan, injured, and distressed animals, so we've continued that on for 30 some years now, and here's the Boo Boo Zoo, overgrown.
Overgrown. So I think you told me before that she was going to a doctor who practiced Eastern medicine, and he diagnosed that what would help her survive cancer would be to have a will to live.
Exactly. The will to live is something that you can't force, and if you lose the desire to live, you lose that drive that your body has to recover.
Right.
And so, knowing my wife for a little while before I found out that she had cancer, I knew that she always wanted to go to the pet shop and pick out the little sick one back in the corner. So I started collecting little sick and injured and orphan critters for her to take care of as part of her occupational therapy.
That's amazing. Okay, well, let's go see it.
Shall we go see the Boo Boo Zoo? Yeah. Let's go.
So Sylvan, tell me about the deer.
Well, right now the deer that are here have accumulated over the last 20 years, and most of them were brought in as orphan babies.
Yeah.
Some were sick or injured by cars, but most of them were orphans.
Yeah.
And because of the delicate environment that we have on Maui, instead of releasing the deer back into the wild as is required by law, the local Department of Land and Natural Resources and the Nature Conservancy preferred that we keep the deer here or euthanize them, and since we're a no-kill facility, keeping them here was the only option. And so over the last 20 years we have accumulated over a dozen deer, and now that there's a new administration involved, they really want to try to adhere to the law more rigidly. And so the deer that are here, we're going to try to grandfather in and separate out from the other animals so they have their own area, because you are required to separate wildlife from domestics. And even though they came in with other animals that were in the wild, such as goats and pigs, only the deer are considered wildlife. The goats and the pigs are considered feral domestics. So since the law requires you to separate wildlife from domestics, now that we've become a little larger and added a few more deer into the group, we're going to need to separate them, and so we're preparing a new area across the stream here that just the deer can be in. They like to go there anyway. And but we're going to need a lot of help from the community to afford to build. It's going to be about $30,000 to fence in that area, and it's going to be required in order to keep the deer. Otherwise, we're going to have to euthanize them. So we're going to have to build a lot of new facilities, new infrastructure, so that the Boo Boo Zoo will have the wildlife part totally separated from our domestic animals that we rescue here.
And I was mentioning to you before that there's going to be a meeting, a DLNR listening meeting. I would just encourage the community to come and tell the DNR what your feeling is. If you feel that what these people are doing here of rescuing animals, both wild and domestic, is a valuable service to the community, to the animals, come let the DLNR know.
I would appreciate that very much. Absolutely. It's been community support that has gotten to the point now where DLNR is working more closely with us to try to solve issues that have developed over the years, that because we've raised and rescued so many different types of animals, that now we've gotten to the point where we really do have to separate the wildlife out from the domestics so that there's two completely different operations going on here. The pueo that were confiscated from the room here were taken because they didn't have flight. And unfortunately, the federal law is that if wildlife cannot be returned into the wild within 180 days, it must be euthanized. And I've always taken exception to that law because we've been able to provide comfortable, healthy lifestyles for the animals, even though they are not able to fly. But of course, the law enforcement agencies feel that the law is the law, and so that's why they came in and confiscated and euthanized the pueo. It's unfortunate. It's the law. I'd like to see it changed or at least amended so that animals that can be given a healthy life don't have to be killed. They don't need to be killed, even though the law says they should. And I'd like to see that changed. This is Baby. Baby came because she's blind, and just like the guy Riley here who's coming into the picture, was brought because actually she was supposed to be deaf and blind. Turned out she wasn't blind, but she is deaf, so when she's barking, she doesn't know she's barking, but she barks. It's just an instinct thing. Yes. She's a good girl. Yes, she is. The baby here was on a ranch that she was born with another calf, and she was born blind, and the rancher asked the wife to start bottle feeding her, and that lasted about 2 days. And apparently the rancher's wife had a lot more duties than just bottle feeding a baby. So now Baby's a big baby, but she's very sweet. She just can't see. But we have a lot of blind animals, and they all seem to get around as long as you give them the same area to operate in all the time. They don't seem to have a problem getting around, and of course if Baby bumps into things, it's usually things that lose, and Baby does just fine, because Baby's got a good hard head and a nice set of horns, and so if you're one of the things Baby walks into, you'll want to move.
Okay, so any comments on the Boo Boo Zoo?
I think what he does is amazing. Kudos to you, Sylvan. Good job.
They have big hearts up there, that's for sure.
Do.
And it is. I mean, we all understand that, and like Sylvan was saying, I mean, there's something very, very important and very amazing about the human-animal, companion-animal bond and connection. And these companion animals, we have created them from wild animals. We've taken wild animals and domesticated them, and they cannot live without humans. Now, cats and dogs, they're domesticated. That's why we need to take the responsibility to solving these overpopulation problems and take killing out of the picture.
Right.
Absolutely.
Spay, neuter, spay, neuter, spay, neuter. We can't say that enough. That's the answer.
Yeah.
The overpopulation.
Yeah, definitely. And don't forget, though, there are lots of great pets at the shelter right now, waiting for a loving home. Right. So those are the short term, like I say, and we've got increases in our dog and cat intake. So we definitely need to find some great homes for them. We've got some wonderful, got the best selection in town.
Okay. And what about dog training?
Yes,
is it important? I mean, cats, you don't need to train. But
cats can train.
You can. Is it important to, especially big dogs, little dogs
all
too.
dogs.
Is it important to train a dog?
Absolutely, it's important to train a dog. It's important to train and socialize your dog so that they are, again, it goes to that whole responsibility thing and showing people how wonderful these animals can be. And the other big issue with that is nationally they think that is the #1 reason why pets
we've got
are not.
The numbers here on the screen.
Oh, yes.
This is the Humane Society numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you want to read those off?
So we had, last year we had 9,402 animals total. That was 26 animals a day. As I said, when we say last year, this is a fiscal year that ended June 30th. So in the first 2 months of this year, July and August, we were up to 30 animals a day coming in. And you can see the dog numbers there, and live release is an industry term that means adoptions, returning to owner, and transfer to adoption guarantee agencies or programs. And then you can also see there that we are, despite the increased intakes, we are making headway, not nearly as much as we wanted to, and less than we made the year before because of the increased intakes. But altogether, 494 more lives going out and being saved. So we're very proud of that, given the fact that we have less funding from the county, and you know, our staff are putting in Herculean efforts.
Yes.
And they're amazing. I can't say enough about our staff. They're just wonderful, and we couldn't do what we did without them. So
that was dogs, and then cats.
And then cats as well. And you can see that you know, there's a significant amount of feral cats coming in too. So yeah, it's a problem. And we also find that cats are more difficult to adopt out, I think because they are more readily available in the community. Again, you have all these neighborhood cats out there that people are adopting. So you know, that's why we waived the adoption fee to try and get compete. Those numbers up, because there's a they're all over Craigslist. So
I see 84 less euthanized. How many animals were euthanized at the Maui Humane Society last year, Jocelyn?
I would have to go look for that figure, but I can tell you this. I can tell you that all our stats will be up on our website by the end of the day tomorrow. So certainly if you check in over the weekend, you'll be able to find all of those numbers. We are not trying to hide these things. It's very unfortunate, and that's why I want to make sure that people understand everybody needs to work at this. Definitely the agencies. We provide the programs, we provide the education, we provide the services, but it's up to the pet owners themselves to take that step and get them spayed or neutered, train their dogs, leash their dogs, you know, not abandon their cats. Those are the people that really hold the answers. So, yeah.
Well, hopefully this program will bring more public awareness. I can see somebody sitting there like, oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah. Oh, people are shocked and that's why we do the per day amount too, because I think when they hear, 10,000, well, whatever, 10,000. But when they hear 30 animals a day, every single day, 365 days a year, that is staggering, and I think that changes people. And by the way, our website is mauihumanesociety.org. So again, by the end of the day tomorrow, certainly by the weekend, you should be able to find all the animal statistics for the previous year.
And I think it's important.
So we've just got a couple minutes, so you just gave your website, which is good. So if anybody has some final message they want to say, what do you want to say to the community? You can just speak directly to the red light camera there.
Our phone number at SPCA Maui is 280-0738. If you call us for spay-neuter assistance, we will not say no. We will find the money. So please, do it for your animals, do it for Maui, and do it because it's the right thing to do. Again, it's spcamaui.org.
I'd just like to say, if you have any questions about feral cats and maybe you see some stray cats in your neighborhood, you're not sure what to do or how to handle it, you can give us a call too. Our number is 891-1181, or you can go to our website too, www.mauicats.org, and send us an email about your situation, and we'll give you a call back and try to help you figure out a way to handle it responsibly and humanely.
Okay, so Maui Humane Society, as I said, mauihumanesociety.org. We're on the Mokulele Highway, about halfway between Pu'unene Sugar Mill and Kihei. Our phone number is 877-3680. Our spay-neuter hotline is 877-3616. And we have a great Facebook page as well, so check us out on Facebook. We've got all our pets there, so if you're missing a pet or wanting to adopt, you can check them out there.
Okay, wonderful. So again, I wanted to thank all of you for coming. I think this has been an amazing show, and I hope out of this show comes this great collaboration, and you all work together, and you get Maddie's money, and get all these millions pouring in, and everybody can get their cats and dogs spayed and neutered. And I want to thank my sponsor, Three's Bar and Grill. It's delicious, scrumptious food, and it's in Kihei Kalama Villages, Southwestern, Pacific Rim. They've got lots of wonderful events. They're real kind of classy and casual and sporty all at the same time. So thank you so much for coming and watching, and we hope to see you again on Netra's News.